Here's that one. Okay, there we go. Now it's getting us much better. Okay, it is welcome. Good morning. It is Sunday, January 5th here in the Games and Grinds kitchen. My name is Anthony, of course. This is Aspen,
Good morning.
the always lovely. And we're here to make omelets. Aspen posted a little bit earlier this week about some tips and tricks, things that you can do just to keep in mind while making them. So we're going to put some of that to the test. I have never actually made a traditional omelet that I can recall.
No.
I've made a lot of eggs, never in the omelet shape. So she's going to try to teach me today, and we're going to see how this goes and hope for the best.
I mean, for as much as we cook and we've cooked for, I would say we've been avid home cooks for 10 years now.
Since we've been living together, at least I would say.
Omelets are something that I don't think we've ever really tackled until the past couple months. And even if we made omelets, they were really more so scrambled eggs that
got laid out.
Yeah, which I think is being the case for most people because omelets they're not difficult. It was just what I've learned recently. It just does take some technique and thinking about the eggs differently than you would if you're trying to make a scrambled egg because it's not the same technique. And it is a little bit difficult because you're trying to keep all of the eggs in the pan in an even layer, but also still get a thorough cook on them. So it's understandable why omelets are a little bit tricky, but once you find a cooking method, they're really not that hard. So that's what we're going to do today. We have already prepped some of the filler for it, but we're going to start by prepping the rest of it.
Do you want to start real quick by just going over our ingredients first? Because we're technically making a Denver omelet.
We're making an omelet that was inspired by a Denver omelet.
Okay,
I don't want to call it a Denver omelet.
A Denver-inspired omelet. I can work with that.
Because a Denver omelet is ham with peppers and onions and cheese, I believe. Instead, what we're doing is bacon. So what I already did was I cooked bacon and then crumbled it just so y'all didn't have to watch that messy process. But really, in general, with omelets, you can fill them with whatever you want to. One of the things we'll talk about is being conservative, though, in your fillings because and that's been our issue in the past is that we'll throw like everything we have in with the omelet and then you lose that consistency because it's too much in there. So you don't want to overcrowd your omelet, which also means not trying to be selective in your ingredients. So I think 4 ingredients total is probably the most that I would do, not including the cheese because I count that as a separate, separate thing.
That's just the glue.
Exactly. So, but you could do them with anything. When my parents were in town, we did mushroom and like a cheddar cheese, and then I did bacon on the side just so we could have a little bit more bacon versus what I cooked about, I think, maybe 7 strips of bacon total this morning. But that'll all get diced up, or is diced up, and then it'll get thrown in the omelet. So bacon on the side is a little bit heartier if you're wanting more of that true, meat aspect. The bacon really this morning will be more for a little bit of flavor. But what we're going to start with is I'm going to dice up our peppers and onion for the filling, and then what we're going to do is cook that down a bit because everything is up to your palate and what you like to eat and your preferences. So you could throw the veggies in raw if you wanted to in your omelet, but to me I prefer them cooked down a bit because they're only going to be in the pan with the eggs for a minute or 2 tops. So if you want them to get cooked down at all, you need to do it in advance.
Don't mind me just testing all the back end stuff to make sure that people are actually able to watch.
The other thing with omelets too that I like, there's probably more efficient ways to cook everything because really if you want to do your meat in advance, obviously your meat can't cook in a minute or 2 in the pan with your with your eggs. So you've got to cook the meat in advance. Again, the veggies I recommend cooking in advance depending on what you're putting in. You could cook the veggies and the bacon alongside each other initially to cut down on time. But what I like to do, which is what we're about to do, is I'm going to cook the veggies in the same pan that I cooked the bacon in, so that way it's cooking in bacon grease, which I should preface, this is not meant to be a healthy omelet. There are certainly healthy options with the with making an omelet, but we are going to do a lot of cooking with bacon grease this morning. Between the fact that we already have the bacon, I will probably use bacon grease for the omelets as well. And then, oh, sounds like the neighbor's dogs are out. And then I'm also going to make toast.
Morning.
Morning. I'm also going to make toast, and do you know what I'm going to cook the toast in?
Bacon grease.
Yep.
Just a hunch.
Yep. I'm going to cook the toast in bacon grease. So that's why I like to do the bacon first, so that way I've got ample bacon grease for what I'm trying to do. And now I also will we typically will keep bacon grease in the house in general. So anytime that I fry bacon, I'll save the grease because I mean, again, it is like so not healthy at all. That is not what we're going for with the bacon grease. But I fry, we do our steaks in bacon grease.
We always have a stock on.
Yeah, we'll sometimes
sure.
do veggies in bacon grease if we're trying to make the veggies less healthy. Like I love doing, like you've done before, the red potatoes in the cast iron skillet, and adding in bacon grease to fry the potatoes is really good.
I mean, you really can't go wrong.
You really can't go. I mean, you're frying it in yeah. I mean, bacon is it's a fantastic thing. So anytime you use the grease, all you're doing is just infusing that flavor in. Plus, you're also getting a really nice crisp because bacon grease has a really high fry point. So it gets hot easily. It's very, very fun to cook with. Messy, unhealthy, but tasty. But so I am going to start by putting the onions in to give them just a little bit of a leg up with cooking, because onions take a little bit longer than the peppers do to cook down how we would want them. So that's what I'm going to do now.
Rogue onion on the loose.
The other great thing about bacon grease is really then it requires minimal seasoning for your stuff too, because it's seasoned by the bacon grease. You think about that bacon already has the natural kind of salty flavor because it's been cured. And a lot of times too, there's maybe like an like applewood smoked bacon or whatever it is, that bacon already has flavoring. What I do with the bacon, well, what you started doing, and so then I started doing, was peppering the one side of the bacon to give it a little bit more flavor. And so all of that then just carries over and translates to whatever it is that's being cooked in the bacon grease. So I won't season really these veggies at all. I'm just going to let the natural course of bacon do its thing.
Suddenly realizing at some point a third webcam might need to be brought in just to be able to get the actual cutting board. I thought this angle is nice. Maybe if we were to set up right here, start switching stuff up maybe as we, crash test this whole setup. But
well, like you were saying too, if we got a table that goes like right in front of here, then that would be helpful.
I think that would be the biggest Because we have the webcam that you're, as I try to duck around our little picture in picture. So this webcam here that we have is just on a little like claw grip that's actually on the railing of our kitchen. So it's really unstable right now and fragile. And then we have the laptop down below. I'd love to be able to get kind of a nice pop-up table to go right in front. We can shift stuff around. Just I need something to talk about since I can't contribute to the cooking side of this. So I'll talk about our setup. Why not?
Well, why don't you finish chopping the green pepper?
Sure. Appreciate it. Let's see here.
Well, I kind of mix all the onions in over here.
I will say the one thing I love about the not Denver omelet is just the color of it. You get all of this great green and red, and then the white of the onion, and well, if you had ham, it'd be pink ham, but we have some crispy colored bacon. That's right, I said crispy colored because it might as well be its own color.
No, you're right. It is very. So we've had these guys for about a year now. So it's like a cloth's not the right word. It's made of beeswax.
Like a paraffin beeswax,
Yeah,
I think it's called.
and it's activated by being crunched up. It's sticky, and so this essentially functions as reusable plastic wrap. Your mom said, or no, someone said something's up with the audio.
Oh no. How would you describe what's up with the audio, just so I know what I'm looking to try to fix? Let me just try to go into the properties here. But hey, thanks for watching, especially watching close enough to give us some feedback on that. Let's see. I thought I had it all figured out, but you never really know until you start trying to run it, I guess, right? Oh, it's tinny, huh? Okay.
You were able to figure out that it's tinny from.
Well, aliens,
Sounded
I'm
like
assuming it
alien.
has like that metallic, you know, that metallic hollow sound. I'll just try resetting our mic here and see where that gets us.
I'm just waiting on these onions to smell them, so I know they're starting to warm up, but get a little bit more of a sizzle going before I throw in. Probably just do half of the peppers.
Let's see here. Let's try this. Okay. Let's see if that did it. Tried disabling a couple other stuff, resetting our main webcam. Is that any better?
Oh, it could be fine.
Oh, it's fine now. Could be aliens just passing by. Well, hey,
Huh.
you never know. But either way, if it's working now, that's all I ask.
Yeah.
That's why it's a much better experience having people actually in chat to be able to give us feedback.
The feedback. Back to what I was saying though. So we love using these like beeswax. It functions as essentially a reusable plastic wrap. And you can get about, they say like about 100 uses out of them or so. The only thing you can't do with them is wash them in warm water. That'll deactivate the stickiness. Um, but you can still use soap on them and stuff like that. We try not to use these with meat because I feel like that's a little gross.
Weird,
Yeah, but anything else, these work so great for, and I do think they keep food a little bit fresher too.
Yeah. Produce, cheeses, they're really good for, and it is sticky enough that you can use it kind of like a cling wrap over metal bowls. It works really well for that kind of thing. I think we probably last year we really started using them around the holidays last year, and in the past in 2019, I think we maybe bought one roll of plastic wrap all year that we were really able to kind of work on, just because we had those wax sheets for most of the year. It worked out really well.
Yeah. Now I am about to use a plastic storage bag. As we say all of that, but there's some things
It's
that
reduced. We're trying.
yeah, we're trying. But I am going to start saving our vegetable scraps with the goal of making veggie stock
Nice.
out of them
Good.
eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, what we need. I haven't really looked into if this was really just a decision I made right now. I think we have to like fill this bag with scraps.
Yeah, I think that's what we looked into last time. We were like, oh yeah, we're gonna make veggie stock, and then you need like 5 pounds of, of veggie scraps.
All right, I'm gonna throw in our peppers now.
Have I mentioned how glad I am that I got the 2 webcam setup going?
Oh, nice. Nice.
You know what bugs me too about the microphone stuff? Is I have that snowball sitting over in the office right now, and one of the USB ports on this laptop is totally dead. So I need to find an extender, a USB extender or something before I can use it. But this is what happens when you try to throw together a makeshift kitchen streaming setup with multiple webcams on like a 10-year-old laptop. But hey, it seems to be working.
Okay, we're gonna let this cook down now for probably about 5 minutes, maybe longer. I personally like for my omelets for the veggies to still have a little bit of a bite to them so they're not like 100% cooked down, but are again still not just completely raw. So, but while we're doing that, I guess we could make some Bloody Marys.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
Yep. So we have guests here today. They're not in the house right now, but Anthony's sister and her friend are in town, so we're making omelets for the house, and I told them I'd also make them Bloody Marys. So.
Yeah, the way you brought it up, you were like, would anybody happen to like a Bloody Mary? Maybe. Please don't torture me by saying yes.
I know what I did.
Oh, I know you know.
Do you know Monica likes spicy foods?
Yeah.
Do we know if Lauren does? We're just gonna make it.
I don't
think I make mine like spicy to the point that.
No.
It would be.
If somebody jumps at the opportunity to have a Bloody Mary made for them, they're fine with it being spicy. I think that seems like a perfectly fair notion.
Well, and technically this is spicy.
Oh yeah, so we don't have a choice.
But
spicy vegetables.
I was gonna say let's think about how spicy that actually is.
Yeah, probably not crazy, but
yeah. So Worcestershire, olives, lime. Do you want to get the Louisiana hot sauce out of there?
There it is.
So I'm sure many people, which is fine, just use, the juice as is. This is also like the Kroger brand spicy vegetable, basically the Kroger brand of V8. Now you can buy Bloody Mary mix that I think has a little bit more seasoning to it, but this is $2 in the store versus the Bloody Mary mix is like $7. So I would rather just get the mix and
Bloody Marys operate by golf rules, where like the cheaper, the lower the cost you can keep it, the higher the quality. I'm just trying to justify going
Sure.
with not Bloody Mary mix. Just
should
roll with it.
I just do the whole thing?
Yeah, why not? We'll be around for today. Where are we going?
Yeah. I also, so how I'm going to do this is I'm not going to add vodka to the Bloody Mary mix. I will add that in before, or I'll add that into everyone's individual glass so we can adjust alcohol as needed. And so this could also sit in the fridge and, we can dive into it at any time. Because I don't know how much it would really matter, but I don't really like the idea of it just sitting with vodka in the fridge.
No, that's fair. I feel like it'll help keep it kind of fresh tasting.
Exactly. So I wish that I had more of a formula to tell you guys on how I'm making the Bloody Marys, but I don't. I do a pretty healthy dash. It's probably about maybe 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire. Then I'm going to throw in some olive juice, probably about a tablespoon of olive juice. Black pepper. That would not end well, probably.
I'm useful.
Yeah. I'm going to do maybe about enough black pepper to just kind of cover the top-ish. Probably works out to maybe that's probably
about a tablespoon,
teaspoon. Some lime juice.
I can already smell it.
I don't have a ton of lime, so for this much, I probably would have preferred to have done a half a lime. Or no, sorry, not a half a lime. This is a half a lime, a full lime, but this will suffice. It just gives it enough of that little bit of a citrusy pop, and if we need to, I think I actually have one of the things of lime juice from the store in the fridge. Okay. And let's go ahead and really quickly, those are coming along nicely. We'll just give that, maybe 3 more minutes there. So the weird thing with omelets, and this is what's kind of tricky and I think also makes it difficult to want to do all the time, is a lot of it also comes down to your pan that you're working with. So we have one pan really in the house that's ideal for omelets. And so that means the omelets have to be made one at a time. And really with omelets too, you want to eat them while they're nice and fresh. So that is also just kind of something that you have to keep in mind. When I made omelets a couple weeks ago or a week and a half ago when my parents were in town for the holidays, it was, just one omelet at a time. So everyone kind of ate individually while we were watching the news and stuff like that, which is fine. You can kind of, if you're hosting, you can sort of tee it up as you're making omelets to order. What?
Nothing. That's a really good save. I like that advice.
Yeah. Because it's hard to sit down and be like, okay, now omelets are served. Do you want to grab the cups out of the? Yeah, just one for now is fine. Or if you want to go ahead and grab all 4, whatever. So I'm gonna give this a try, and then we'll see if we need to adjust the taste. I think it's missing something, but I'm not sure what that something is.
Yeah. I would honestly say like
Salt?
yeah, but I would actually say garlic salt if we have it. Just like a little bit,
Nice.
just to give it just a little bit more top flavor. It's got a nice kind of like smoky pepperiness with the Worcestershire and the pepper. But it could just need a little bit more of that like accent flavor of garlic, I think. I personally kind of like it in my bloodies.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if we have straight up garlic salt. We have garlic powder and salt, or we could go out on a limb and do either seasoned salt or Cajun seasoning.
Ooh, Cajun seasoning sounds interesting. Why not make a Cajun Bloody Mary? Cajun Bloody Mary and a Colorado Springs omelet. That's what I'm
I'm
calling
going
it.
to trust you to do the honors on that one.
Oh, sure.
Well,
I was just going to do it similar to your pepper earlier, just kind of give it a nice little
it
top
could also
layer.
maybe use some more Worcestershire. I think some of the smoke is missing as well.
Mhm.
Right now, primarily what I taste is the olive juice and the lime.
Yeah, so that's a nice little coating on there. And then the Worcestershire.
And I am satisfied with how these veggies are looking, so we're going to go ahead and pull these off and just put them in a side bowl.
And I will go ahead and start.
If your mom's still watching, I'm curious if your dad's watching. Because I am a little bit intimidated about your dad watching.
That's true. Growing up, my dad was always the ones to make omelets. Or always the one. Excuse me.
So now we've got our two primary filler ingredients, the veggies and the bacon, ready to go. So I'm going to put those off to the side for now. Maybe angle on that again. Okay. Before we dive into the omelets, though, will you try the Bloody Mary mix?
I have not since I remade it. Okay, go ahead and do that.
Oh, I may just be pouring the same thing that I just poured back in.
I'm sure it's mixed. Oh yeah. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's it with the vodka. That'll be really nice.
Is there still something missing from it though?
It still has a very strong tomato flavor to me, personally.
Did you add more Worcestershire?
I did. If you'd like to add more.
Yeah. Is there anything that I didn't add in? I think it's just a little more Worcestershire. Of course, I don't advise tasting the Bloody Mary mix and pouring it back into the
Well, when it's
thing.
family.
If I would say, if you're actually entertaining, we're all family here, so I'm not thinking about that too much, but any germaphobes out there know that I understand that is not what's the word I'm looking for? Couth?
That is uncouth.
It's uncouth. Alright. Let's see how that tastes. Okay. I think we've got a winner now. That last bit of Worcestershire, I think, balanced out.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right.
It's hard to get the ratios right when you're
Yeah.
making a picture of it at a
Yeah.
time, but
So that would probably end up being about a third a cup of Worcestershire, I think.
okay.
If I had to guess between what you added and what I added.
Which I guess makes about sense for a picture that size, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So before we actually get into the omelets, one last thing I'm going to do is prep the bread. So I'm going a little bit extra on the bread this morning, but we've got.
When do you not?
I know we've got time, and I do think it actually is a more convenient way if you've got just a toaster that only has two slots, but you're trying to entertain a crowd, is to do your toast in a pan instead.
You want to bring that camera back up?
I won't be there
Okay.
quite yet. So you're good for now. Okay. So we use this is our favorite bread. This Nature's Own perfectly crafted thick sliced multigrain. It fries up so well. Can you get the spreadable butter out and go ahead and get stick butter out too? If there's a little guy in there, that's.
Is that enough for your needs?
Yeah, I may need to go back for more stick butter, but for now that's good. But there's something about this bread that just, I think because it's nice and thick, it fries up really well.
It absorbs a lot too.
It absorbs a lot really well. Sometimes with the multigrain, if there's like seeds or other things in it, it's not as good for like toast like this or grilled cheese or whatever, but I haven't had anything close to that issue with this. We make a lot of grilled cheese with this bread, and I love it. It just, like Anthony said, it just soaks up in really well. And I like that it keeps its thickness too, so it almost tastes like a Texas toast.
Yeah, it really is. More by dimension anyway, more of a Texas toast.
But this is definitely where we start to get into the category of what I would say is extra. Is I'm going to just coat one side of this in butter, which is going to be the side that I leave up at first. But I'm going to cook the bread in bacon grease as well, as I mentioned. So I'm going to, here in a second, put it in the pan that has still bacon grease from frying the veggies in it. I'm going to put it down because it'll absorb that grease right off the bat. So the grease and the butter aren't fighting each other initially. And then once that one side has soaked up the grease, then we'll flip it over that has the butter side, which by that point, it'll need more moisture in the pan anyways. So I'm going to cook it kind of on a lower-ish setting, just so the bread also doesn't burn.
Double dose of buttery bacon grease goodness on our toast, and later join us as we take the dogs on a 10-mile walk to burn everything off.
Yeah, we really are trying to be healthy in 2020.
Yeah, this is a great start, yeah.
Okay, you ready to make an omelet?
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, that's the whole point of this morning, so we'll come back to the bread. I'm going to move this. Oh, we don't even have that camera up, right?
No, I just pulled it up,
okay.
So no worries.
I'm going to move the bread over here. Okay, so for the omelet, this is the pan that I'm going to use. It is, a medium-sized frying pan, but that gives you a nice amount to work with where the eggs are going to spread out enough that they can cook evenly, but not so big that it spreads to the point that all you're working with is just a super thin layer of egg. We'll keep working. We can work over here for a minute. So a couple things that I posted an omelet recipe, and I think we were talking earlier about I was trying to remember what all the sayings are around omelets, and I couldn't remember if the saying goes, "There's more than one way to make an omelet," or "There's only one way to make an omelet." But
I think that's
we
the whole
agree.
point. There are many ways.
There's more than one way to make an omelet, which is certainly true. And so I don't say that this is the end all be all recipe by any means, but it's the recipe that I've had the best luck with by far. So a couple things that I found surprising about this recipe is, or one of the main things is that you are not adding anything else to the eggs. This recipe says that like adding milk or any other kind of like ingredient like that is only going to make them fluffy, which sounds good for the most part, but this is it. We're with an omelet that we're doing the fillings on. We're not really trying to achieve fluffy. Fluffy is scrambled eggs. We're not trying to do scrambled eggs here. The goal is not to have to scramble these eggs. The other thing that you want to be, or the other thing that I thought was interesting is that they recommend keeping it to a 2-egg omelet. You could do, if we had a larger pan, you could probably do a 3-egg, but again, the goal is you don't want to overcrowd the pan. You want the eggs to be able to cook evenly, cook well, the ingredients to fold in nicely. So that's a lot of how we approach this. So we're gonna crack 2 eggs to start with.
Crack 2 eggs. These are my mental notes. Crack 2 eggs.
Okay.
You're welcome.
And then we're gonna go ahead and scramble these guys up with a fork and get a nice smooth egg mixture.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And then we're also going to add some salt and pepper to the mix. Go ahead and season the eggs. I add more seasoning to the first, if I'm making more than one omelet, I add more seasoning than I will on this one than I do the rest of them, just because the bowl will start to get coated with salt and pepper, so maybe a little bit more conservative the second time around. Hey guys.
Hey, welcome back.
All right, so now we're ready to start cooking. So with omelets, you're gonna do 2 different types of cooking grease. Actually, no, I lied. I was thinking about scallops.
Totally related.
Scallops, you want to do 2 different types of grease.
Basically.
Omelets, we're just gonna do butter. So I'm gonna start with about a tablespoon of butter. And toss this in the pan. Get that going. And it's already melting pretty quickly because this is still the burner that I was cooking the veggies on, so it's a little hot. But what we're waiting for is for this to get fully cooked down and then start to bubble a little bit. That's how we'll know it's hot enough to make the omelet. I typically do this on, so our stovetop runs from low 2 through 8 and then high. So almost like a 1 through 10, I guess.
Yeah, that's about
I
right.
cook this on a 4. So we've got a nice medium heat going. That, of course, you know, the heat is going to be dependent on your own stovetop, but you want something that's hot, so it's going to cook quickly, but not so hot that it's going to fry the bottom while the top still has running egg on top of it.
So we're just kind of still prepping, waiting for that butter to melt down, and then
So
start laying on the egg.
Yep. So as soon as the You can, I think you can see from the camera, you can start to see
Oh, yeah.
some bubbles beginning to form, so it's definitely getting hot enough. And I'm just waiting for this little guy, and he's gone. I'll do another little swish around the pan here. And checking my bread, which is coming along well. I'm actually going to go ahead and flip the bread now, because we've kind of gotten to that point where until the first side we put down is getting crispy. So the butter will brown the bread a little bit more though, get it more in that like crisp toast feel. So I want to get the butter starting to work its magic. I might even throw a little bit more butter in the pan here in a bit. We'll see. So, all right. So we've got this nice little bubble happening here. You can see that the butter is ready to go. So it's time to add the eggs. And one last scramble before I put them in the pan just to be sure they're well mixed. And add it in. And now we wait for a bit. So while we're waiting, if you want to go ahead and
I'll start mixing up my own eggs for the next batch here. Ooh, saved it. Almost lost that egg.
Okay. You want to use a spatula with your omelets. I like this little one that we have. I think it works well. I'm going to try very hard not to touch the omelet to start with, because you want to give it plenty of time to cook and do its thing. Some space. But what you're looking for is to see when the sides start getting nice and cooked. So this one's definitely getting there. What we're going to do once I feel a little bit more confident with the sides is then drain some of the liquid that's on top to get it to go on the bottom, so we're getting more of that even cook. Again, I want to wait a little bit before we start doing that, because that can get messy if there's too much liquid still on top and the bottom's not fully cooked yet. Let's see how nicely the pan size works for the shape of the omelet, which is again what you're trying to get, because eggs are obviously going to get runny and take the shape. The eggs are going to get runny and take the shape of whatever it is that that they're being cooked in. So this is why this kind of pan is ideal versus like the one that we were using for the veggies, because that's just going to run all over the place. Okay. So as you can kind of start to see, the point of the butter is obviously like the non-stick. So this is not at all right now sticking to the pan. I can very easily run the spatula along the sides, and it's coming up. So, all right.
Yes.
As you can see that the sides are pretty well cooked at this point. Really what we're looking at is this top bit that's gotten a little bit, that's so runny. So what we're going to do is sort of just push this,
okay,
and then tilt the pan and let some of that excess egg run off. And then
like
you
want
to
secret trick,
kind of bring it around, and you want to keep your omelet still as flat as possible. So I'm going to go through now and kind of bring this in a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely that's the hard part with the omelet is, again, you're trying to cook all of it in one even layer. Then I'll usually kind of poke a little bit of holes in it. I'm like, I don't know if that really does anything or not, but I think that helps to kind of ventilate it and keep it from being too, it gives it some opportunity for any of that liquid to seep in. So
Just a couple love taps.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
just
fine.
showing you can.
So now we're ready to add our filler. So you want to keep in mind that we're about to try to fold this. So again, you don't want to overcrowd. What I'm going to do is add in, you want to keep it kind of along this like the top part of the omelet. The recipe that I'm going off of says to do 1/4 cup of filler. I probably go closer to 1/3 of a cup, just because I still like to kind of, you know, be risky, overfill my omelet. But that's still like, typically when we used to make omelets, I would have covered this entire thing with filler and then wondered why I wasn't getting any kind of proper fold on it. And then add in your cheese. You're planning to use cheese. All right, and now we're gonna fold it. So I'm gonna take this side, fold it over. You wanna kind of press it down and give your cheese an opportunity to be that binding agent. So that way, and right away your fold is starting to take shape. Then from there, you could do it a couple different ways. You could do one more fold over, or what I'm gonna do is just fold it from the top again. Again, you're kind of at this point hoping that your cheese is gonna do the work to keep it in. Then what I like to do from here, and you don't have to do this, but is one more fold over. So now you're just looking at the top of it, and that bottom where the fold actually is has more time to seal. So the omelet, you know, your fillings aren't running all over the place. And now you just want to give that maybe a minute to finish cooking. You don't want to overcook that part of it. Speaking of overcook, I'm definitely flipping this bread at the right moment because it is looking like some nice, it's looking like great toast, but a little crispy.
Still, you should put that right under.
Yeah,
Just
so I'm gonna
really pretty.
turn the bread off and let it just keep cooking, but that's how the bread is looking right now. And the great part is now you're not going to have to butter the bread either unless you really want to be super extra and unhealthy, which would be no judgment, but okay. And now we're going to plate the omelet. So I like to plate it with the fold up just because it's visually, I think, a little bit, well, I don't know if I'd say that's visually any different from the other side. Sometimes the fold does look a little bit more visually appealing.
We're not one of those pre-recorded cooking shows where our omelets look perfect.
I also should add, when I added in the ingredients, I turned the heat off because I want the ingredient, I didn't want to overcook it at that point. There's enough heat that was already coming off of the stove in the pan. And you want to bring down the heat a little bit before you put another omelet in there and let the butter kind of have more of a time. You don't want to fry the butter right off the bat. So, and then you add a piece of toast and voila, you have an omelet. So I'm going to put that one to the side. Get a little bit of some of the crispies out of here. And it's your turn then, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So what do you need to do first?
Put the stove top back up to heat, which was medium heat.
That's somewhat correct.
Okay, how about you just tell me that?
Butter.
Butter,
Yeah.
Got it. I figured we had enough butter residually left in the pan, but I
we
guess
want to add more. I'm going to only add a half a tablespoon this time. And then because we do have a lot of liquid already in the pan.
Got it.
So your mom said that her favorite.
Yeah, I saw her.
Yeah.
So going back to your
know.
comment about your
Wobbly.
favorite big frying pan being wobbly, depends on how it's wobbly, I guess is the way that I would ask or describe that. If it's wobbly at the handle, then you might need to find a way to tighten those bolts that kind of hold it in place on most frying pans. You can actually kind of see them on ours there on the camera there towards the base of the handle, those little studs there. If those need to be tightened up, or I don't know if there's like a cooking epoxy you could use that's heat resistant that would help kind of hold it in place, that might help. Or if it's just wobbly like at the base of the pan or the pan itself, then it might have warped. I don't know if you put it in the oven or something along those lines, but say over time it might have warped a little bit just to get it to that point. And there, I'm not really sure what to do to flatten that out. But those are at least some suggestions or ideas.
Oh, we need to add. Did you add salt and pepper?
To the egg, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, then go ahead and pour it in. Nice. And then we're gonna turn the heat back up to medium. I mean, you can already see too the difference with this one. You can see the eggs starting to cut around the edge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if the bottom itself is flat, then that pan might just be a goner. I'm not really sure. You would need some kind of like press or vise maybe to be able to flex it back into position, but I'm not sure how long it would stay there. So I wouldn't take my recommendation on that. I would probably just try to find a new favorite frying pan. Sorry. That's my completely unprofessional opinion and recommendation. How is that omelet, dear?
Very good.
Very good. Excellent.
I'm going to touch this omelet, but I'm not going to touch this omelet. Who's your omelet?
It is my omelet. Please back off. Is it about ready to?
No.
No? Okay.
No, you got to cook off a lot more liquid first.
Okay. See, this is why I'm around, so people can learn from the mistakes that I make. I can be the one to embarrass myself and sacrifice my
You just
dignity.
gotta be patient.
And that's something I'm not.
I know. You want to wait for really, I mean, there to be good circumference on the outside of it being cooked before you start trying to move things around.
So while we're giving this 1 second, do you want to see something kind of cool on our camera here?
Sure.
If you look under the frying pan, give it a second here, wait for the coils underneath there to start heating up. And I think it's something to do with the way the camera catches it, but you can totally see the coils start to heat up almost like blue under there, like it's catching it in a different kind of light.
Huh.
I don't know, it's something I've noticed throughout the morning. The things you
Oh
notice
yeah,
when you
I see it.
yeah, see just
That's
like that.
nice.
There it goes.
Huh.
The things you
That's
notice
cool.
when you stream at 10 in the morning versus 10 at night.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part too is that I can be over here on the cart prepping and still keep an eye on what's going on the stovetop. Even though I think the camera's on a bit of a delay, right?
No, not
it's
one.
not?
No,
Okay.
that one would be the direct feed. You're talking about the one that would be actually happening on Twitch, which is like a minute delay or whatever it is. Here we go. So this looks good. This looks right.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and
So push them up to the side a little bit like that.
yeah,
And
and
then
then
try
tilt
to,
your pan and get that liquid out. And this.
just kind of roll it around a little bit.
Yeah,
and bring
I
it
want
up.
to push it in a bit. Do a little.
I'm not doing this in a very pretty way, but it's working.
I would.
There we go.
Tilt it, yeah.
That'll do it. There we go.
All right.
My handiwork.
So now go ahead and add in your ingredients next. So
Okay.
do a
Set that back over there.
handful of the bacon. Remember, you're thinking about 1/4 of a cup.
So we have
Yeah, stop. do about the same amount with your veggies. Don't like this. Okay, okay, yes, you're good. And then
Just remember, you love me.
cook your cheese on top.
Hang on. Just cleaning things up. It's all about presentation.
You could work on presentation for your second omelet.
And the cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Is that about right there?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
And now, fold.
Fold this way.
Fold that way.
Towards me the first time.
Mm-hmm. You're not looking to half it. You want to just, just like that. And we kind of press it down. I think your omelet's a little full.
Yeah. Keep tucking it. It's just like doing a sleeping bag.
So what I would do, I think, since your omelet's a little bit full, is instead of flipping this side up, I would flip this side over again.
Really?
Yeah. I think that'll.
Let's see if I can.
However you can best do it, though. That's.
With another spatula, maybe.
Or if it's easier to do it that way, that's fine too.
Just help me out. Pin it there. Yeah. As soon as that cheese melts, I'll be all right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of works. It's going to fall apart the second I try to flip it like you did, but
Well, and that may be where just
the flavor looks like it's there.
let it be what it is.
Give it an extra so.
Yeah, good job. You don't have to take it off the heat. You know, you just think about like for a pan, just because you turn the heat off doesn't mean the heat goes away. The stove's still hot, pan's still hot, but this just helps to slowly start bringing the temperature down so it's not cooking on the full direct heat. And like I said, too, it kind of brings it down a little bit so the butter's not just frying as soon as you, I mean, it is frying as soon as you put it in the pan, but not to the point that it just incinerates it immediately.
But essentially, I did it.
Yeah,
I pulled it off.
essentially you did it.
I mean, it's
Yes.
a little full to finish the fold here, but aside from that, that is an omelet that I made.
It is an omelet that you made, and
That's a first.
you can eat and enjoy.
Thank you.
So I'd
All
say
right.
go ahead and pull that off. So if you want to slide it onto the plate. Yep, there you go. I'll get you a piece of toast, and you're good. Cover that with some hot sauce or whatever else you want, and
There we go.
you're all set.
I am pretty proud
So
of you, actually.
good job.
I know, I want to get the hot sauce action on here for sure. Yes. All right.
Okay, that's
And I
it.
think that's it. All right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep making omelets because we've got some guests to feed.
Yeah, here, you wanna? Well, we can just go ahead. It doesn't take more than a minute. We can go ahead and leave it up and kind of chat. I might actually go grab some of those trivia cards. What do you think?
Sure.
Just kind of close out our morning.
We also still need to mix up the Bloody Marys.
That's true. Oh, such a busy morning.
If you're upstairs, you can let the girls know that breakfast is almost ready and they want Bloody Marys now. It's brunch time in the kitchen.
Well, actually, if we want to get them in here, we can quiz them on video game trivia and see where it gets us.
Go ahead and bring this back down since we kind of know what the process looks like at this point, but I'll keep it up if just a bit. Hope everyone's had an excellent week.
First Sunday, anyway, I guess. I never really know whether this is the start or end of a week, but
Technically, it's the start.
the start.
I
Either
think.
one.
If you look at calendars, the calendar week starts on a Sunday.
Well, I hope it's been a good one, regardless.
Like, that's special.
We managed to get, like 4 new blog posts up this week.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment.
How many viewers do you guys get?
As of right now, we are up to a whole 3. we're
being your mom.
yeah, one of them being
Good
mother.
for y'all.
So it's a fun way to spend the Sunday. Really.
Oh, you guys are lucky.
Yeah, right.
Mom?
Here. We found these at Target. There's some video game trivia cards. So
Sure. Yeah. Oh,
we'll go ahead and make up some Bloody Marys, and then I'm gonna quiz you guys on some video game trivia.
Because I know so much about video.
Well, that's what's gonna make it fun.
Oh no. The questions actually aren't as hard as I thought they were.
No, there's you are making so much noise.
Sorry.
If it's Nintendo, I got it. Anything else?
There's like a couple. So let's start with this one. What is the name of the race of insect aliens in the 1984 game Elite?
Right.
There are no multiple choices.
Right. No right answers.
It's Thargoids.
Oh, right, yeah,
Thargoids.
yeah, that's the one. Right.
knew.
I was alive on that.
I was alive.
So yeah, we managed to get a couple blog posts up this week, which is always an accomplishment. Particularly go back after this episode, you can go and read the omelet primer, kind of prep post that Aspen put up back, what was it, on Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah.
Some really good tips and things to keep in mind as you make your own omelets at home. We also managed to get 3 days worth of the video games of 2020, what's on the menu, with plenty of trailers and stuff like that. Just a couple of games, 15 games that caught our eye as we were kind of looking at things going into the new year. So there's a little bit of something for everybody, a couple of shooters, a couple of RPGs, and a couple of things that are totally off the map in terms of genre. So definitely check it out. We're actually going to have probably a show sometime this week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll get the schedule posted, where we'll watch all of the trailers and just kind of, get the conversation going and all that kind of stuff. So definitely keep an eye on our Twitter account, Twitch, and eventually, once I get Mixer working, because apparently it doesn't want to work again today, we'll be all over the place for your viewing pleasure. So thanks for watching, much appreciated. Let's see, next trivia question here. Oh, here we go. This isn't a bad one. Monica, in which game did Katana first appear as a playable character? Katana, spelled K-I-T-A-N-A.
You got this one.
I'll give you another hint. It's a fighting game.
Yeah. But I would need like a face.
I believe she typically wears like a purple deep V-neck leotard, if I'm thinking of the right Katana. It's been a while since I played this.
No.
Mortal Kombat 2.
I was actually gonna
See,
say that.
then you should have thrown it out there, because if you don't give an answer, then it doesn't really do me
I
much good.
was thinking of fighting games, especially whenever you were explaining her costume.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure it was on the tip of my tongue.
I also.
Oh, here you go. Which 5 colors are used on the fret buttons of Guitar Hero controllers? What are the colors?
What color?
Yeah, what are the colors?
It's green, blue, yellow, red. I don't think red's
5.
Purple. Purple's the last one.
Orange?
No, orange. Is it orange? Blue? I just said blue.
Green, red, yellow, blue, and orange. No purple. Now let's see. In which N64 game or Nintendo 64 game does the player take on the role of Joanna Dark? Come on. There was an Xbox game too.
Out, right, whenever you started speaking, so I apologize.
I do.
This is why we had you run errands while we were on camera.
Can I use it in a sentence?
Perfect Dark.
Zelda.
The game is Perfect Dark.
Oh,
It's ice right. Are you looking for water?
yeah. Oh, you keep clicking it. I was like, so if I click ice and water, is it going to come out at the same time?
Well, here you go. What are the nicknames for the 4 Pac-Man ghosts? Which
Pinky,
this is actually a little inaccurate because the names have changed a little bit over the years.
One of them is Pinky.
You're right, and it rhymes with that.
Stinky.
The rest of them pretty much.
Blinky, Dinky. I'm just gonna go through the alphabet.
Blinky.
Blinky.
Is that one Pac-Man?
We're a family friendly show.
Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde.
Clyde.
Yeah, Clyde.
I love that.
You get 2 plates out of it.
And I want to know the guy in that meeting who was like, let's name one of them Clyde, though. All the time except Clyde.
See, I feel like I would have been really successful whenever like media was just becoming a thing. But now that it's progressed, I'm like, that's
Man.
too much work.
And the only thing that had to happen for you to be super successful is be born like 40 years earlier. That's all.
I think it would have been a lot. You're also a woman in those times, so it would have been harder.
Yeah, see, still screwed. Sorry.
Oh. Wow. We
There
really
was no winning.
we got down the energy in this kitchen.
100 to 0.
Okay. Who wants the omelet first?
Next
I know
omelet
you
up.
wanna say- I know you want to say.
And you don't want bread, right? Okay. Do you want any you want these hot sauce?
Yes,
for it?
please.
Okay. Let me, yeah.
Alright.
Yours will just be like 5 minutes. Can you get out another stick of butter?
Yeah, another stick of butter. Sure. I'll always grab another stick of butter.
If you, Lauren, if you're hungry, you can eat your piece of toast now. So I made 4 pieces of toast. So if you want the other piece of toast, you're welcome to it. Thank you.
Welcome.
How cold does it get here normally? Is this like a normal?
This is pretty average. So the springs, during the winters, we average somewhere around 40 degrees with swings up or above or below that. But we will get snow once every like 2 weeks or so, and then it'll melt off pretty quick.
But it definitely gets
The nights get cold.
Yeah.
The nights get real cold.
We've had not this year, but last winter we definitely had some sub-zero
Oh, yeah.
nights.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
Not days as much, but
Yeah.
but Colorado Springs is known for having 300 days of sunshine,
Oh, nice.
which I feel
I'm not
like
sure.
yeah, I would argue that you could say it would be the same thing as saying Florida has 300 days of sunshine.
It's like some of the days.
It's like yeah, the sun might shine for an hour,
Yeah.
but over the during the summer we got a ton of daily rain and stuff in
Yeah.
Florida.
And it was weird how close it was to Florida in terms of 3 to 4 o'clock, right? When you were wrapping up work, you could expect 30 minutes of a quick rain that came off of the mountains and then just burns right up. You'd never, as soon as it was done, you'd never know it was raining.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of
I
stuff.
thought it was gonna be so much colder here. Going outside, it's not too bad
Yeah.
during the day.
And we've had, we've had some really cold days recently, but we've been, I think yesterday the high was 55. I don't know what the high, hey Siri, what's the high for today?
The high will be 37 degrees.
Oh, so it's a lot colder than
Yeah,
so today's more of an average
But-
winter day for us.
But so for here it matters a little bit, but on the hiking too, when we do the 14ers, it's 30 degrees up there, but we'll be doing it in t-shirts and gloves and pants because that sun gets so
Yeah.
hot without any
Yeah.
kind of cloud cover. That sun gets so hot that the breeze is cold, but every time there's no breeze, you're pretty warm. It's a weird mix.
That's how we were in Mammoth. It'd be sunny and you were fine, but then a snowstorm could roll in any second. I was
Yeah.
wearing shorts one day in the spring and it just started snowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's oh no.
And I mean, we were doing some 14ers back. The first one we did was July?
I don't know.
August? Well, it was summer, and there was still plenty of snow up there,
Nothing ever fully melts, honestly.
Certainly not.
Nope, not really.
Well, we are wrapping up our last omelet of the morning here. Probably going to go ahead and end things after that, because we need to play tour guide to these two. Gonna go check out what the mountains have to offer, maybe. But again, we'll be on later this week. Thanks for watching. It's very much appreciated, as always, for the people that stick around. And I don't know what our next, we've talked about wanting to do burgers. I don't know what our next on camera recipe will be, but we'll find something and post it for sure. Honestly, this is so much more fun doing it this way than sitting in the back playing video games, not talking to anybody on camera. So I'll cook every night if I have to.
Take you up on that. How's your omelet?
Excellent.
It's really good.
Thanks, Monica. I should have made you make Monica's omelet.
Yeah, she would have been a proper judge.
Now that you've learned how to make omelets.
I'm an expert, basically. I learned it 5 minutes ago.
Was it as hard as you thought it was going to be?
No, it's really not. It's
Yeah.
really not. The biggest thing is just understanding the technique in getting the butter in the pan and the balance of heat to timing and making sure you're dealing with that liquid on top.
Yeah.
As long as you're just kind of keeping it spread out around the pan, I think that's my biggest thing is in the past when I've attempted it, I kept the egg really thick and I didn't try to drain it like that or keep it spread out. And I
Yeah.
think it just didn't really cook evenly and it just, a lot of times, you know, a bad hotel omelet is when the outside is total. Oh no.
Oh
Well, it'll still taste
Yeah.
really good.
no. Well, and that's where the cheese comes in as the binding agent. So,
Yeah, it'll be glued.
Lauren, I'll never know.
But like I think back to bad hotel omelets and stuff that I've had, and they're bad because the outside is like a hard, almost like crust of egg. That's those brown omelets that you see, and to me that's really not appealing.
Yeah.
And I think it's to me now that I've tried it, I feel like it's somebody that didn't constantly spread that egg around and just tried to wait until it was cooked through by keeping it in place, and that's what happens.
Well, that's the challenge that goes back to, apparently you're not supposed to use milk or another liquid or something in the egg. So that means you're just cooking with the egg, and so you could really easily fry it to the point of being dry. Which is also why you want to cook it with a lot of butter, so that way it keeps it from drying out.
Mm. Did you know that omelet is French for the fold?
I did not know that.
It's because I just made it up. I have no idea what
Hey,
the omelet.
Siri?
I have no idea what omelet means.
What's the origin of the word omelet? What's the origin of the word omelet?
Okay, I found this on the web.
No.
What's the origin?
See,
I wonder
Siri
if
doesn't
you tell
know.
me what the origin is.
No, she's just a fancy
She's
Google
so
search
lazy
these days.
sometimes. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
We good?
Yep.
All right.
Everyone has been fed.
Everyone has been fed. We've turned out 4 omelets today, the first one that I've ever done in my life, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But otherwise, that is it for a Sunday morning in our kitchen. So we'll be back around later. Thanks for sticking around again. Much appreciated as always. From Games and Grinds, this is Anthony Aspen, Lauren and Monica somewhere back there signing off. Take it easy, y'all. Have a good Sunday.
Adios.